I probably did not actually do as much preparation as I should have. What I did do was I had a blessing, I would say, in that two people from my state got home from similar missions. They both had served in missions in Peru, so I went and I started talking with them about some of the things. What do I expect? Culture-wise, food-wise, things like this interview will hopefully help people with, actually. And it was kind of a cool experience, that looking up that stuff. One of the things I regret not doing was I didn't read Preach My Gospel all the way through. I kind of just skimmed it, honestly. And when I got to the MTC, I realized that had been probably not the best thing to do. So as far as that preparation goes, I would suggest the reading the scriptures, reading Preach My Gospel, and if you get the chance to get a hold of some other maybe materials that you can be reading, you can't really take them with you when you go out into the field because they do have the set books that you can take with you. But if you want to get some extra materials in that could help you, it would probably be a good idea too. But mostly focusing, of course, on Preach My Gospel in the scriptures and within the missionary library. As far as getting to the MTC, when I went into the MTC, we were still doing the 9 weeks for foreign language speaking. So I had 3 weeks, which I spent in this MTC here in Provo, and then I had 6 weeks, which I actually went and spent in Lima. And that was 6 weeks was basically what would have been my first transfer, and I spent it in the MTC down there. And that was actually a really cool experience because it kind of started putting things into perspective. When I was in Provo, we went through the 3 weeks, language training, gospel training, all the training, and you start feeling kind of confident, like, yeah, I can do this, I'm good at this. And then you start feeling overconfident, I'm the best, nobody could be better than me. Then you get to Lima and it's suddenly like, all the teachers speak Spanish, everybody speaks Spanish, all the other missionaries speak Spanish, and you're kind of just there like, I know nothing. But it was a good experience in that sense because it did really kind of humble you, first of all, and make you realize, well, okay, I've been learning about the gospel, I've been learning the language, now I get to learn even more of the language and more of the gospel, and I have to keep trying to learn both of these things at the same time. I will say, speaking of foreign language and going foreign language speaking is a lot different in that you do have to learn both. And a lot of times there's not a whole lot of time to learn both. And you kind of want to focus on the one or the other, but you have to put time in for both, otherwise it's not going to work. I did something a bit different too when I got to the Lima MTC. Down there they split us up into Latin elders. Native elders would be serving, well, not serving, but they would have their own district. And in there they would be learning just pure gospel, how to teach, all of that. All the North Americans would be put into a different district, and within that district we would learn both the language and a bit more of how to preach the gospel. And they'd try to kind of mix the two in a way, but you would see kind of definite, here we're learning how to speak, here we're learning what to say, you know. About 3 weeks after I got to the Lima MTC, we had our first transfer, so to speak, of letting the Latin elders go and getting more Latin elders in. These were the ones who would end up entering in the field with us. Meanwhile, we had to stay there for 3 more weeks. They gave us a choice at that 3-week mark. I don't know if they'll still do this. I hope they do. But they gave us the choice. You can either stay with the North Americans and keep learning a lot of the language and focus on that, or you can change over, be purely with the Latin missionaries, and you won't learn any more of the language stuff. You'll have to learn that on your own. You'll have to find time to make it on your own, to look at grammar, things like that. But you will be focused purely on how to preach the gospel in your native language. You will be speaking in your native language constantly with them. You won't have much opportunities to be speaking in English. You will have to learn here in these next 3 weeks how to communicate, at least to like a very low degree, you know? And so I was convinced by 2 other elders to go and join the Latin class. And it was honestly a very different experience for me, just because we weren't learning how to, learning grammar or learning specifics of the language, but we had to learn how to speak it. We had to learn how to communicate with these elders, because now all of a sudden my companion isn't North American, he's not white, he's English speaking. He is a Latin elder from Chile who speaks Spanish purely, and I have to figure out how to communicate with him effectively. And it was kind of a cool moment there, because it kind of just pushed everything at that moment to now I learn how to speak. Instead of just learning the language, I learned how to speak. And it was really cool that. Also, it gave me the chance to have a really cool teacher and instructor who I learned a lot from him. One of the other North Americans was just like in love with this teacher. He's like, he's the best. I'm so glad I switched over to these classes. I can't hardly understand the Spanish, but when he's speaking, he's got the spirit, so you know what he's saying. And it's so cool. And I agreed with him on that. And I can promise that was one of the coolest things about switching over to that class was the spirit really helped us start understanding what they were saying a lot more. And then he also helped us as we tried to speak in our broken Spanish to practice and to try to teach at the same time. And it was a really cool experience in that way.